Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is Kid Nate of BloodyElbow.com, and Google has just completely changed the way everything works about how to record videos, so I don't know what I'm doing. Bear with me, please. I effing hate when Google just changes everything and doesn't give you any warning or way to get back to the old system. Anyway, I want to talk today about a UFC on FX8. I'm going to give you the patented bathrobe review, sans bathrobe. It's just too effing hot here in Austin, Texas to wear a bathrobe at 10 in the morning in May. Anyway, last night's event, I'd give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Not fully satisfying, but not unsatisfying either. Some good fights, some good action, particularly showcase fights, showcase wins for some big fighters in the last couple of fights. A couple of fights I had high hopes for let me down a little bit. And then, of course, there's the whole issue of testosterone replacement therapy and Vitor Belfort. But anyway, let's start at the bottom of the card and work our way up. The first 3 fights on the Facebook card, excellent. I thought the Facebook card was one of the highlights of the night. The first fight, Lucas Martins and Jeremy Larson, this got a lot of mad love. It won the fight of the night. It was a back-and-forth brawl. No skill was on display. It looked like 2 Leonard Garcia clones out there winging wild punches until Lucas Martins eventually threw his chin face first into Jeremy Larson threw his chin face first into Lucas Martin's fist and fell down unconscious in the 3rd round. Prior to that, both guys had managed to throw their face into the other guy's fist repeatedly and just hadn't knocked themselves out. It was fun, not necessarily my cup of tea. It wasn't a great brawl like Leonard Garcia versus a Korean Zombie. It didn't achieve that level to me. It just felt wild and out of control. It was fun. It was a hoot, but not really my thing. I'd give it 4 out of 5 stars. Some people would call it a 5-star fight. I would not. Up next, Jussier Formiga defeated Chris Carriazo. I'd give that one 3 stars. Fairly boring fight because Formiga just used his wrestling and jiu-jitsu to control position utterly in the first 2 rounds, and then in the 3rd round Carriazo came back and dominated on the ground and was really putting it to Formiga, and I felt won the fight. I felt that when the 2 of those men walked out of the ring, they both knew Carriazo was the better man and he had won their encounter by doing the most physical harm to Formiga, and if it had gone 5 rounds, he would have stopped him, if not killed him. However, the 10-point must system means that, if you win 2 rounds without doing any damage, you're gonna win the fight no matter how badly you get your ass beat in the 3rd round. Worst case scenario would be a draw. Anyway, so that frustrates me. I'm not a fan of the 10-point must system. Never have been. Never thought it worked for MMA. I'm a fan of the Pride scoring rules, and I'm not going to change that. And also, I think Formiga is an extremely limited fighter with very little upside. He was a good flyweight in the days when there really wasn't any depth to the division whatsoever. Going against athletes with wrestling and striking skills, he just has nothing to offer. So I don't think he's a threat to the top guys in the division. I think Carriazo is a much bigger factor in the long run. Up next, flyweight John Lineker defeated Azamat Gashimov. Lineker, on the other hand, this guy is for real. He's got excellent striking. Hits really hard for a guy that little. 125-pounder. He's got 200-pound fists. This dude bangs. I'd give that fight. I'd give the Formiga fight 2 stars. I'd give the Lineker fight 3.5, 4 stars. 4 stars, because Lineker is somebody I think is going to be a contender in the division. I don't know if he can hang with Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson, or Joseph Benavidez, the guys at the very top, but I think he definitely. I'd love to see him fight Ian McCall. And I'd like to see him, and John Dotson, I'd like to see him get his chances against Mighty Mouse and Benavidez, but I'm not optimistic that he'll be able to overcome their wrestling. Anyway, Lineker is an exciting force in the flyweight division, certainly brings a lot of excitement to that field. So overall, I'd give the Facebook fight 4 out of 5 stars. Up next, the Fuel TV card. One of my personal favorites, Fabio Maldonado, defeated Roger Hollett in a fight. I'd give it 4 stars just because I'm a sucker for Fabio Maldonado. I don't know why. I can't explain it. The guy's not really actually a good boxer, as Jack Slack over at Bleacher Report has pointed out, and it pains me to give props to Bleacher Report, but Jack Slack is the best. Maldonado has no head movement. He keeps his head right on that axis. He does not care about the defensive aspects of the sweet science one bit. He just wants to trade punches, take his licks, and get in there, lean his head against your head, and roast your ribs. And he got a chance to do it to Roger Hollett. Hollett faded hard after a pretty dominant positional first round. In the second and the third round, Maldonado poured his game on. Probably the best performance we've seen from Maldonado in the UFC. Good to see him getting a win after he just got demolished against Glover Teixeira in his last outing. So that was a fun one. I don't really think Maldonado's a threat in any way, shape, or form to anyone at the top of the division, but he's fun to watch, and I enjoy it. Up next, bantamweight Yuri Alcantara destroyed a late substitute Eduardo Santos. I'd give it 3.5 stars just because it was a showcase for Alcantara, who's somebody I think is a factor in the bantamweight division. Santos, game guy. I think he's truly a flyweight, last-minute substitute. He really had no chance, and Alcantara did what he needed to do, demolished him in 30 seconds. Good fight. What can you say about it? Up next, Gleison Tibau against John Cholish. This was looking for about 2 rounds and 2 minutes. It was 1 round and 2 minutes. It was 7 minutes. It was looking like a typical Gleison Tibau grinding, tedious decision, maybe not even a clear decision. Cholish just had announced already this was going to be his last fight. His heart didn't seem to be in it. Tibau's a big lightweight, possibly the biggest guy in the division. But somewhere around the middle of the second round, he cracked Cholish, and man, he put on the kill. He jumped into a armored guillotine and got the tap, and it was a nice finish, made up for the first round and a half just sucking balls. So I'd give that a 3.5 star fight. Nice to see Tibau getting a finish. So long, Cholish. But I mean, if you're retiring anyway, I don't really want to see you pick up a win against somebody like Tibau, who's a not quite a factor in the division, but a presence in the division. Up next, lightweights Francisco Trinaldo versus Mike Rio. 2 Ultimate Fighter veterans. I think Trinaldo is one who's got some potential. Mike Rio is not someone I think has potential. I'm not hoping to see him get cut, but I won't be surprised if I see him get cut. I'd give it 4 stars because Trinaldo pulled this slam. Even though Rio planted his feet and took the impact on his feet, you could just see the impact going up his spine, ugly and nasty and painful, and he quickly finished with a arm triangle choke within Cholish's half guard, which you rarely see, but I think Cholish was so hurt from that slam that he was just looking for a way out at that point. Rio. Sorry, I keep calling him Cholish, but Mike Rio. No offense to John Cholish. Anyway, that fight was a good one. Up next, Nick Lentz and Hakran Diaz. I really had hopes that Diaz, with the Nova União training, would be able to stymie the Carney's clinch game. He could not. He came close. He came out in the third round knowing he's behind two rounds to nothing and really went for it. Then he got sucked into the ground game and lost his momentum and it petered away. I'd give this fight 3.5 stars. I'm something of a fan of Nick Lentz. A friend of mine was telling me, Zane Simon of Bloody Elmo was telling me last night, he's going to be the John Fitch of the featherweight division, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that there's a place for somebody like that in the featherweight division. He's got the physical presence to be dominant in the featherweight division. He didn't have at 155 pounds at lightweight. So Diaz is just somebody else who didn't pass the Nick Lentz test. I don't think Nick Lentz has what it takes to beat Jose Aldo, but I do think he could be a solid number 3, number 4 in the division for a long time to come. This guy's formidable. Overall, the Fuel TV card, I'd give 3 out of 5 stars. Maybe 4 out of 5 stars. Honestly, it was a better part of the card because the shit shows were coming up next on the main card, the FX card. First off, Rafael Sapo Natal defeated João Zeferino. Zeferino, I'd kind of bought into a little bit of the pre-fight hype. He trained with Rick Rufus, etc., long undefeated record. He looked a little bit small to be a middleweight, and really he just had nothing to offer Natal. The sad part is Natal had nothing to offer either. It was just a tedious bore fest. I give it 2 stars. Just not a fun fight. And then up next, Rafael Dos Anjos and Evan Dunham. I'd give it 3 stars, and I was really hoping for a 5-star scrap. I really like both of these guys, and I was just let down. I mean, other people liked the fight. Other people scored it for Dos Anjos. The judges did. I scored it for Dunham. I watched it again this morning. I still score it for Dunham. Originally, I had it 3 rounds to 0. I can now see where Dos Anjos, I think, clearly won the second round, but nonetheless, it just never quite caught fire. It was just a frustrating fight, a near miss for me as a fan, and I can only give it 2.5 stars. Just frustrating. I really had hopes that would be the barn burner that would put this event over the top, and it didn't. The last 2 fights really were just showcases for Jacare Souza and Vitor Belfort. I didn't expect anything from Chris Camozzi against Jacare. I mean, what's he going to do? He doesn't have the striking to beat him up on the feet. Jacare is a very athletic guy whose striking is continually improving, and on the ground, man, the dude, this is Jacare. This is one of the best jiu-jitsu artists, not just in the world, but in the history of the sport. And the transitions from omoplata to guard passing to arm triangle choke for a quick knockout. Camozzi didn't even have time to tap before he was choked unconscious. Amazing technique from Jacare, and really shows you the difference between truly elite level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and your average black belt. I mean, guard passing like a knife through butter. It was just beautiful to behold. Unfortunately, I give it 4 stars. Unfortunately, I don't think Souza. I think he's topped out in the division. I think that his loss to Luke Rockhold shows you, and Strikeforce shows you the limits. I don't see him as somebody who can hang with Vitor Belfort, much less Anderson Silva. Love to see him against Michael Bisping. And we'll see. I'd like to see him get his title run, but we'll see. I just don't. I'm not optimistic that he's going to take the title in a division that has very clear demarcations between the truly elite, the very good, and the good. I would put Jacare in the very good category, but not quite in the truly elite. Up next, Vitor Belfort, the TRT kid, demolished Luke Rockhold. Rockhold, somebody who's very tough, but he's not really great at any one thing. He's a very big guy. He's good at being athletic. He's good at being big and strong. He's good at being aggressive. Doesn't have any killer skills, and he made the fatal mistake of standing still in front of Vitor Belfort. His game plan was to survive the first round, but you don't do that against Vitor Belfort by hanging back and letting him fire off at you. And Belfort showed it with a beautiful reverse spinning wheel kick that just knocked the bejesus out of Rockhold and finished him on the ground. Beautiful exposition from Belfort. I'd give the fight 4 stars. The shadow of TRT, though, it bums it harshes my buzz. What can I say? I mean, here they are fining Pat Healy $130,000 for testing positive for pot, meaning he got high sometime in the month previous to the fight. No indication he was high during the fight. No indication it had any material impact on his incredible win over Jim Miller. Nevertheless, that's a no contest. That's a $130,000 fine. Vitor Belfort openly, with the permission of the Brazilian authorities, taking testosterone replacement therapy, coming into the cage visibly jacked to the gills, looking like old Vitor, the old Vitor who got caught cheating using steroids by the Nevada Commission when he was in Pride, the old Vitor who ballooned up to well over 220 pounds when he was fighting as a heavyweight in the old days. Serial steroid abuser. Now he's legally using TRT, clearly gaining a visible advantage from it, and hurting guys. And as fun as it is, as much as I've enjoyed Vitor over the years, it just maddens and frustrates me that this guy is getting away with doing these things. And so it's just kind of maddening that they're letting Vitor do these things. Anyway, the new Google only gives me 15 minutes. I've almost run out of time. Overall, I give the fight card 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'm looking forward to UFC 160 coming up this weekend. Heavyweight championship fight rematch between Cain Velasquez and Antonio Bigfoot Silva. We'll see how that goes. Eugene and I'll be previewing the fights. Hopefully Dallas Winston maybe will get a chance to come back this week and do a more in-depth preview. And Eugene will be back with Knuckle Up, so stay tuned, subscribe to MMA Nation, and get all your MMA videos and hoo-ha and all the Zombie Prophets playlist. And stay tuned to Bloody Elbow and get all our news and opinion. And we'll see you soon. This is Kid Nate. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.